Hey, this is Rick Kasalj, injury specialist from exercisesforinjuries.com. In today's video, I wanted to go through anterior hip pain, what to do about anterior hip pain. And I'll get Alex to demonstrate the first exercise, then I'll explain in detail, plus give you 2 tweaks that you can do for this first exercise, and then go through 2 more things that are going to help you with your anterior hip pain. Perfect. That ends up being the first one. You want to foam roll out the quad. So Alex is she's starting at just above her knee, rolling through the main part of the belly of her quad, up to her hip. Good, just below the hip, and then back down. So with this one, she's rolling up and down that quad. And what she's working on is decreasing the tension in the quad and the front of the hip in order to help anterior hip pain. So what ends up happening is there's tension in the quad, there's tension in that hip flexor, and that tension shortens up the muscle, increases the tightness of the muscle, which ends up leading to your anterior hip pain. So we need to loosen it up. We do it to start off with this one, foam rolling out the quad with the toe straight down. Now, with the tweaks that we do on this is we start changing and targeting different parts of the front of the hip, anterior part of the hip. So we'll start off with rotating that thigh out. And then, so then what Alex is doing is going to roll through that, rolling through from just below the hip to just above the knee. And now what we're working on is the front of the thigh, but then also the inner thigh area, and loosening up that as well, decreasing the tension in both groups of those muscles, which are going to help with anterior hip pain. And then the third tweak that she's going to do with this one is she's going to bring the thigh in. Good. And now, same thing, going from below the hip, up along that thigh to just above the knee. And now she's working on the front of the hip and thigh, and then also the outer part of the hip. And she's rolling through that. When it comes to all 3 of those positions, I say toe down, toe in, and toe out, but the movement is truly happening in the thigh or in that hip joint. When it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity, sets you're going to do 1, repetitions are 5. 1 repetition is up and down that thigh area. And when it comes to time, smooth controlled movement, as you saw Alex do, and the intensity is we want it to feel like the muscles being massaged. So you just don't want to feel like the skin's being rubbed. You don't want to feel like it's the screaming deep tissue massage, but you want to feel like the muscles being massaged, and there's the tension in the muscles in the front of the thigh, outer part of the thigh, inner part of the thigh are loosening up. So that's the first thing. We need to address tension when it comes to anterior hip pain. Now we're moving on to the second thing that you need to do, which is target those hip flexors. So Alex is going to, get in that 90-90 position. So flatten the front leg, knee, and hip. So that's 90, and then the back leg is hip, knee, and ankle are 90. She's going to tighten up her abdominal area, tighten up her glutes, bring her hips forward, and then bring right leg, right arm overhead, and then the left arm as well to intensify things. Good. Holding it for a couple seconds and then coming and then relaxing. And then going into another repetition. Now when it comes to hip flexors, I end up liking to target different parts of the hip flexor as well. So I end up calling this the 3-way hip flexor stretch. And so what we've done is we've targeted, with the first one, the main part of the hip flexor, so forward and back. Now we want to work on the rotation side of the hip flexor. So Alex is going to rotate her upper body towards the back leg. Okay, good. Holding it for a couple seconds, and then coming back to the start. And then she's going to move to the other side. So this is the third one. Good. So with her kneeling on that knee, it kind of locks down the lower part. And then she's going to work on that rotating from one side to the other. And she's just going to a stop, so she's holding for a couple seconds, but you can hold that end position a lot longer. So when it comes to sets, reps, time, and intensity for all 3 of these, I would end up doing, 1 set, start off with 2 repetitions on each side. I would say alternating, changing the different positions that you're stretching out the hip flexor. When it comes to time, you want to definitely go for a stop. So 1 to 2 second hold at the end position, but you can also increase that. You can increase that to like 5 to 10 second hold if you're getting benefit, if you feel like the muscle's being lengthened and stretched out. When it comes to the intensity, you're looking for a light stretch. You're not trying to rip apart the muscle. You want to feel like the muscle's being lengthened, and then when you take the tension off, the muscle ends up feeling longer. So there you go. That ends up being the 3-way hip flexor stretch. So we've worked on decreasing the tension in the quad and hip anterior part of the hip with the foam rolling. Now we've lengthened that muscle with the stretching. Now the third thing that we're going to do for anterior hip pain is work on back arches. So Alex is going to stand, hands kind of on the top part of the hips, and then she's going to arch back, bring the head, mid-back, and lower back back, and then kind of bring the hips forward. Good. So with this one, we're doing all kinds of things that you think that it might be more of a back exercise, but we're really targeting the hips. When she brings her hips forward, we're really stretching out that anterior part of the hip, so we end up getting stretching in that front of the hip. Also, by bringing the hips forward, we're working on the mobility or movement in that hip when it comes to extension, bringing that leg back. Also, what we're working on is the mobility in the neck, mid-back, and low back area. So when it comes to the mobility in the low back area, a lot of people have poor movement in that low back area because of chronic low back pain, and that poor mobility ends up, you need to find that movement somewhere else. And a lot of times that movement will get pressed onto the hip, and it can handle it for a bit, but eventually it can't handle it anymore, and it leads to hip pain. So we want to loosen up that mid-back area to decrease the stress on that anterior hip pain. So there you go. Give those 3 things a go to help you with your anterior hip pain. Now, if you want some of my other best tips and tricks when it relates to what to do about hip pain, then click right here. I have a brand new free report called 5 Tricks That Fight Hip Pain and Tightness. Just click right here. Let me know where to send that brand new free report, and I'll send you that brand new free report right away. Now, if you're watching this on a mobile device, tablet, smartphone, head down below in the description and click the first link, which will be exercisesforinjuries.com/hips. Let me know where to send that report, and I'll send you that report right away. Now, if you got benefit from this video, make sure to like this video. If you have a question or comment for me, leave it down below in the comment section. And then lastly, hit subscribe in order to get future pain relieving videos.